It takes just as much energy to sell something that's $5,000 as it is $500. And in fact, you could sell that same service to the same client for $5,000 or $500. It's really, the difference though is that most people don't do this work. If you think about it from the buyer's perspective, when I'm investing in something, right? It's always I'm investing, I'm trading money for something that I see of value. You do it every day, right? Every single day you trade money for something you see as value. And you trade value for money, right? It happens all the time. So from a buyer's perspective, at $500, there's a certain amount of risk that's involved with that purchase, right? Because there's always the chance, the off chance that it might not turn out, right? And so there's a risk. If you think about the $5,000 price point, there's 10 times more risk perceived, right? Because it's a bigger number. And the gap to close is most people are hanging out selling $500 because if I'm the buyer, I probably only need to be maybe 80, 85% sure that it's going to turn out for me. Because, yeah, it's $500, but it's only $500, right? It's like, that's the number. But compared to $5,000, okay, now I've got to be like 99% sure, right? Because my relationship to that number, and you can make up whatever numbers you want. Like for Carl, it could be 10,000 versus 100,000, right? Whatever that jump is, your buyer, you're asking them to buy in to the concept that this transaction where I'm trading money for some kind of value for me is bigger. Does that make sense? So so the difference is most people are hanging out selling the $500 thing because it's easier to not do the work to figure out how to get to that 99% assuredness. The thing is if you learn this, if you learn how to have that conversation so that you can move people from 85% to 99%, you can do it over and over and over and over and over again, and you only learn that once. That's why we're here. So you learn that once, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, it's so easy for me to sell this $5,000 thing. And where we're at with Carl, like where we're at is we're not at that number yet, we're at a lower number. Right? There's a certain value associated with it, and we're doing that work that it takes to pull out what needs to happen in the words, in the conversation, in order for that value to be apparent to the buyer.